Well, hello, greetings and salutations. As we wait for Florida rallies to start in the middle of this blizzard here, I've been working on our Biker Games episode, and I've made a decision. My original plan was to make the quintessential guide to biker rodeo games, but that's not going to be possible. It's not going to be possible because there's simply too many out there. And they're called different things in different regions, and they're tweaked on different ways to play depending on... Anyways, it's still going to be a robust episode. But based on that, I've decided to break things up and make two parts from this first effort. So, let's start with solo games on today's Graybeard Biker. All right, to start off, I mean for this to be a definitive guide on biker games. But this will give you a really good starting place for sure. Now, one of the things you may notice is I sound different today. I have a cold. But I'm gonna press on through because the show must go on. Now, we have a special interview today with the MC of the Biker Games at Angel City Rally, Uncle Earl. He's going to help us out with today's episode. So, meet Uncle Earl.
Started riding when I was real young. I started riding at the age of like 10 or 12, with the dirt bikes and stuff. And I came up and raced motocross. Well, as I got a little older then, and I liked just riding and cruising finally, instead of trying to get there the quickest, just enjoy the ride. And so I've been riding, I'm 70 years old now. So I've been riding somewhere in the neighborhood of close to 60 years. My good buddy, Howard Brown, he asked me one day, he said, "Why don't you help me with the bike game?" And I said, "Howard, I don't know anything about biking." I said, "I love watching them. And I've participated in them before, but as far as what would I do?" He said, "Well, I'll do the main part, getting everything lined up and all." He said, "You just do what you do best." I said, what is that?" He said, "Bullshit. That's all. You're the best bullshitter I know. You get up there and you keep them going." And
that's the MC, the master of ceremonies for the games. A very important role. His job is to explain the games to the participants and to hype the crowd throughout the games. Often, he'll also be the one to decide what games are going to be played, bring in the equipment and the supplies, oversee the setup, all of the things.
I go online and look up stuff to try to keep the games interesting and stuff.
And that's what we're doing today, providing you with the resource for rallies, MCs, bike nights, and those that want to participate in biker rodeo games. All right, I'm going to go through and talk about several of the common games and what they are. And then we'll splice in clips from the interview where appropriate. Now, the names of the games can be called something different depending on what region you're in. If you know them as some other name, let us know in the comments what it is that your area calls them, and let me know what your area is. Also, if you have a game that you like that's not on the list, drop that down there too. We need to keep building this encyclopedia of biker games. May the odds ever be in your favor.
Happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Now, what you need depends on the games that you play, but most commonly, you're going to need a PA system for the MC, and spray paint to mark lanes, directions, or something on the grass unless you have ropes or cones or something to create your own course. Other than that, it's going to be very game specific. For example, the first solo game is the Keg Roll. It's also called the barrel push. And you'll need I don't know that I can do this. Let me go get some tea. All right, we'll let that steep there for a minute. Yeah, hopefully they'll make it where I can talk. Look at that. Bigelow cinnamon tea. You're not even a sponsor, but I don't care. I like cinnamon tea. Now, what was I saying? You'll need an empty beer keg or oil barrel to do this. A minimum of 2 if you are running the games in pairs, or you'll have as many barrels as you are running at one time. If you're in a big field, you can run 6 different barrels at one time. It's perfectly fine. It's actually a little more exciting. Damn it. Now in this clip, you'll see Uncle Earl pretty prominently. He's the one in this sparkly jacket.
Keg Roll, I had watched videos on it and stuff. And but see, we're on concrete instead of grass.
Right.
And so I thought it was, it would roll the fastest to the end, which that's what we did. But come to find out, I started watching some others, and they really, when they're rolling the beer keg they're actually doing it with like a slow ride. But what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, if they do it as a slow ride, do they have their feet down or up?
Yeah, you're not allowed to touch the ground.
That's right. So that's what, if you do it as a slow ride, I would think your feet would be up instead of down.
Right.
And that's why I had them, well, you put your feet down. But hell, I didn't know they was going to come down through that like a freight train. Because, and I did notice too, like he mentioned earlier, the barrel from one would get away and might hit one of the other bikes. And so I had talked to Wayne, and we thought we may get some of that stuff like they put up, drainage stuff, like to get and put something in between.
Yeah,
but
you can just get hay bales.
There's something else we got to put up, So
yeah.
I think if I change it to slow, that would help.
Yeah. Now, the object of the game is to push the barrel across the finish line using your front wheel as quickly as you can while maintaining control of both the bike and the barrel. It's all about precision. Your bike, your lane, your keg. Who's got the skill to roll that keg the furthest, the quickest, without tipping over or losing the barrel altogether? I do think that you need to make sure you have plenty of distance between you and the guy next to you. Like I said, that having some hay barrels or something in between might make it a bit safer for sure. So the idea here is to see who can get to the end first. You have to maintain control of the barrel. That's the trick, which is why it's often better to go slower rather than racing through. I personally have never seen the requirement of keeping your feet off the ground like we're discussing here. Now, you have to in a slow race, and it could definitely make things interesting. Speaking of the slow race, so let's talk about this slow race that we've mentioned here. Here, speed is not your friend. It's all about endurance and balance. The goal is to be the last one across the finish line without putting your feet down. And that's harder than it looks.
The favorite one that everybody loves is the slow ride. Slow ride. And for the people that watch this that don't know what a slow ride is, it's not to get to the end of the line or the finish line the quickest. It's to get there the slowest without putting your feet down. And you be the last one to cross the line, like the tortoise and the hare, I reckon. But some of those slow riders, the competition between them is really, really great, And especially when I had a guy come back this time. Him and his buddy, they were always great competitors. And they get to the end. One of them knows the other one won. They shake one another's hands. It's a great sportsmanship is what they have in between them. And the other people see that, and they think, well, daggone, that's great.
Yeah. This video is sponsored by Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. These are riders who became attorneys to fight for injured motorcyclists nationwide. Free consultations. There's no fees unless you win. And they've helped thousands of riders to get back on the road. When a fellow rider goes down, Law Tigers has got their back. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Information's at the bottom of the screen. Barrel racing. Now, if you've ever watched horse barrel racing, you get the idea behind our next event. In barrel racing, your bike is your steel horse. On a steel horse I ride. And agility is key. Keep those feet on the pegs and navigate the course with flair. Now, similar to barrel racing, because it involves barrels, or in some cases cones, is the slalom race, which is where you line up barrels or cones and the riders go in between them in a serpentine type fashion. And it's a race to beat the clock. The mini bike race. This is just what it sounds like. Grown people jumping onto kids' bikes and racing around a track trying to win. Good times. The drag race. The BIKER Rodeo drag race involves dragging a specified object, usually built to dig into the dirt, making it more difficult for you to move, behind the bike, while maintaining speed and control. Usually a race against the clock, or in some cases, a race for distance. Balloon pop race. Now, I've never seen this one out in the wild, but the idea is that riders must pop as many balloons as possible while riding through a designated area. Jousting. This is one that Uncle Earl told me about. The idea is that you have plastic rings that are set up along a course, and you go through as if you are a knight in shining armor with a pool noodle, trying to skewer as many as possible. I want to break in here for a sec and give you an update on the Q1 fuel campaign. We're still in the middle of our journey towards the Q1 goal of $700, but I wanted to give you an update right here and say thank you to those that have already donated to our Q1 rally plans. If you haven't, you can do so via PayPal. Here's the QR code. You can use your phone, or you can go to the link in the description. Whether it's $5 or $50, every bit helps to keep us on the road, bringing you rally coverage so you can know what to expect at all these different rallies. So, let's get back to our episode. Ride the plank. This one is sometimes called a tapered board ride or a board ride, lots of different names. And of course, there's more than one way to do this, but riders must navigate their motorcycles along a progressively narrower series of wooden planks, starting with a wide 2x16 plank. Then the path gets narrower with each successful pass, testing precision and balance. The goal is to ride down the board as far as you can without falling off. Now, sometimes it's just one board. It doesn't progressively get more narrow. But other times, it starts off wide and then gets more narrow as you go down it further. The mud bog. This one takes some commitment because you have to change the landscape. So it's better suited to be a more permanent setup. In it, you have a trench or gully dug and filled with water to create a muddy obstacle course. Motorcycles then attempt to make it through the pit all the way across without getting stuck. The fastest rider to cross wins. But watch out. This game separates the skilled from the stock. It's messy, it's challenging, and it's pure adrenaline. Now, similar to the mud bog, because it's also permanent, is the hill climb. In this, you have a steep, long hill that people try to ride their motorcycle up. It's another timed event, and it can be quite dangerous. You need skill and an aversion to risk to participate. Now, these two can be part of Biker Olympics, which is a varied obstacle course. Think American Ninja for motorcycles. Any of these riding games actually can be incorporated into an obstacle course, though some would be easier to incorporate than others. Wrestling. Let's get messy with some wrestling. This is where the fun truly begins. Picture the excitement as contestants are covered in shaving cream and take to their corners. It's messy, it's fun, and yes, there is usually a cash prize for the winner. And it can be done in many different variations: pudding, jello, shaving cream, oil, or even coleslaw. Now, have you guys ever done the wrestling, the pudding, coleslaw, all that stuff?
We have, yeah. We've done not the coleslaw, but
Yeah.
we have the pudding wrestling. Now, what really works better is there's the Jello wrestling.
Yep.
Because you can pour it in there and just put water in, and it doesn't, that pudding, if you don't get it up, it sit out there in that sun.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
rank. we try to, change it up for different strokes for different folks,
Sure. Now, wrestling often takes place on a tarp, sheets of plastic, or in a baby pool, or some sort of blow-up pool. You can also do it in a mud hole that can be specifically dug out for the game. The poker run. Now, this next one isn't a rodeo game per se, but sometimes it's an event all to itself. In it, participants ride to several locations to draw playing cards. The best poker hand at the end wins.
Most of the time you have 5 stops. You will, now some are dice run, some are poker run. Poker run, you play with cards. The dice run, you play with dice. You get a card, and each rider gets a card, and at each stop, you either pick a card or you roll the dice, and they write down on it what you get. And at the end of the ride, you put all the hands together and pick the winning hand. And they, like I said, they will win something. But
Scavenger hunt. Another that isn't a rodeo game per se, but is still quite a bit of fun, is the scavenger hunt. Participants receive a list of items or locations that they have to navigate through or find throughout the rally town or venue. You race against the clock to collect proof of each item on the list. It's a great way to explore an area and adds an adventure element to the rally experience. Now, here's a couple more that Uncle Earl told me about that I had never seen before. The helmet toss. And the beanbag toss. Hide the weenie, which is basically how much weenie can you get in your mouth. You get the idea. Lots of hot dog related games at these rodeos. You'll see. There's also a variation where you can play this with a pickle. Biker Beauty Pageant. A lighthearted event where participants showcase their style, their personality, and they're judged by the crowd, usually by their applause or sometimes by a panel. A lot of times this is stripped down to be a bikini contest or a wet t-shirt contest. I guess, does that still make it a game? The tire toss. The participants here throw motorcycle tires for distance or accuracy, and there's often prizes for the best throws. Bike weaving. A course is set up with cones where the riders must weave through without knocking any over. Now, this is not dissimilar to barrel racing or slalom racing, except it's usually one at a time, and the cones are set at different distances to make it more difficult. Now, last in our solo games, we can mention a bike show. Bike show isn't really a biker game either. It's a contest where bikers showcase their motorcycles. Categories might include best custom, best original, or people's choice. This is something that happens at biker rodeo games, but technically, it's not a game, it's a contest. Think beauty pageant for motorcycles. Okay, so that's going to do it for solo games. There are more. If you want to hear more, let me know in the comments and we'll add an episode with more. But next, we continue our interview with Uncle Earl as we get into couples biker games. So that's 2-up games and more. So be sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so that you know when that one drops. Now, you've seen our rally schedule for Q1. If you can, meet us at one of these, say hi, and until then, stay warm as you look forward to the better riding weather. Happens first in Florida. That's where we're headed. Until then, stay free. Keep it shiny side up.